Welcome to our program tonight on the art, craft, and science of community policing. My name is Andrea Hobley, and I'm the president of the Woodbury Cottage Grove Area League of Women Voters. Before we begin the program tonight, I would like to join the voices of other Minnesotans in expressing our league's condolences for the senseless killings of officers Elmstrand and Rouge and firefighter Finsep on February 18th. We have really been looking forward to the program tonight. It's something we've been talking about doing for over a year, to have a program like this, try to join together and learn more about all of our communities in this area. So our league serves the communities of Woodbury, Cottage Grove, St. Paul Park, Newport, and Great Cloud Island. So we're just very appreciative to all of our guests this evening that we're able to have a leader here from all of our local areas. I'd like to take a minute before we get started to give you a brief overview of the League of Women Voters. We are a grassroots organization that has been in existence for over 100 years. We are a trusted source of nonpartisan voter education. Our program tonight is one of several educational programs that our league hosts every year. Our league's mission is to encourage informed and active participation of citizens in government, work to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influence public policy through education and advocacy. We are a nonprofit and have a nonpartisan policy that I'd like to read. The League of Women Voters is nonpartisan, neither supporting nor opposing candidates or political parties at any level of government, but always working on vital issues of concern to members and the public. And now I'd like to turn it over to Vivian Latimer Tannehill and Jody Ritaka from our local league, who will be facilitating the program this evening. Thanks.
Good evening. Once again, my name is Vivian Latimer Tannehill, and I will be co-facilitating tonight's program with my colleague, Jody Ritaka. The title of this program is The Art, Craft, and Science of Community Policing. It's catchy, but what does it mean? Effective community policing integrates and depends upon a combination of what studies refer to as the art, craft, and science of community policing. Art is intuition, instinctive feelings, and hunches when problem solving. Craft is professionalism and practice, and the capacity to blend personal knowledge and experience with skills learned on the job. Science is the ability to master increasingly complex technology and scientific methods and incorporate them into their work. Our panel is comprised of the top-ranking law enforcement officers of Cottage Grove, Chief Pete Kerner, St. Paul Park, Chief Jessica Danberg, Woodbury, Director Jason Pozel, and the Washington County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Dan Starry. I'd like to welcome our panel and turn the program over to Jody for our first question. Jody.
Thank you so much, Vivian, and welcome everybody. We'll begin our question here. And, law enforcement is among the top 25 most stressful and dangerous jobs in America. And despite these drawbacks, thousands of individuals, including our panel members tonight, have stepped forward to serve their communities, and we would like to take a few moments to welcome you and introduce yourselves. Please take a few minutes to tell us your name and the communities you serve, your area of responsibility, what drew you to this profession, why did you stay or why do you stay, and is your current leadership role, and what effort or accomplishments makes you most proud. You'll have 2 minutes to answer this question, and we will begin with Chief Pete Kerner.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Again, it's Pete Kerner, and excuse me, I'm the Director of Public Safety. So I also, with the City of Cottage Grove, my responsibilities is I oversee the police department, fire department, EMS department, and our emergency management department. Kind of what drew me here. I'm a resident of Cottage Grove. I didn't grow up thinking I'd be a police officer or involved in public safety by any means. My initial plan was to be an engineer or something in the sciences was kind of where I was going. I took a class in college, a law enforcement class, and also went on a ride along and just kind of fell in love with the profession, I guess. I grew up in a family that was very service oriented, whether it was with the Athletic Association or the Lions Club, and I continue to be involved in those. So that's kind of where my career path. I don't have any neat story on why I did it really, but it's been a heck of a ride. I've been with Cottage Grove now for almost 32 years. So I've always worked with Cottage Grove, and I've just kind of worked my way through the ranks. And then as far as accomplishments or what I'm proud of, I don't really look at my leadership role really as what I'm most proud of. I go back to my school resource officer days or when I was a detective and just working with different victims. I still have friendships with people I worked with 20 some years ago. But really since I've been the director in the last 5 years, it's kind of been the perfect storm, whether we had civil unrest, COVID, just supply chain, everything, the economy. So just riding out these last 5 years, and our department has moved forward too. So I think that's in my leadership role, that's what I'm most proud of.
Thank you so much. Next is Chief Jessica Danberg. And thank you.
Hi, thank you as well for the invitation. Let's see, my career in law enforcement started back in 1998. I originally went to school with the intention of becoming a criminal attorney, and just kind of realized I didn't want to continue down that path. And that kind of was enforced when I was actually found myself in a situation where I became a victim of domestic abuse. And I had to utilize the services of the St. Paul Police Department, and their presence was very calming and reassuring. And I just kind of took it from there and wanted to be able to be that calming and reassuring presence for others. Never had a second doubt of the career choice. I don't have law enforcement officers in my family. The closest was my father was fire chief of the city of Newport for a while. And then he also worked in the city of St. Paul Park, which is where I now am police chief. Started my career in Inver Grove Heights and then ended as sergeant there when I came over to St. Paul Park as a police chief. I would say one of my biggest goals or one of my biggest accomplishments is maintaining this position while also being a solo parent of a 16-year-old beautiful daughter. And then also not bowing out over the past 1 to 2 years where we had a lot of turnover and some very low staffing to have to deal with. That was, I had some moments where I wanted to be just done, but that wouldn't serve the community. We need a local police department, and I'm glad I stuck it out because we now are just one shy of being full force.
Well, thank you very much, Jessica. And next we have Director Jason Pozo.
Yeah, good evening, everyone, and thank you for the invitation. So I serve the city of Woodbury. I've worked here since 1996. I'm the Director of Public Safety and Chief. I oversee the police department, EMS fire department, and our emergency management as well. You know, when I was young, my parents really instilled in me the confidence that I could be anything I wanted to be as long as I was willing to work for it. And, you know, really being in service to others was a big part of my upbringing. This included military service with family members, service to neighbors, service to members of our congregation, and just the support of our family at large. So I sought out policing really for the opportunity to help people, to make a difference. And I still believe in that. And that's still why I continue to serve in this capacity. In terms of what I'm most proud of, it would definitely be the people who work for Woodbury Public Safety and for the connections and support that they maintain and enhance through their work. You know, if you call 911, our panelists probably won't be the one responding to your house. It's the patrol officers and the paramedics who we employ, and I'm proud to work with alongside all of the members at Woodbury Public Safety.
Thank you so much. And Washington County Sheriff Dan Starry. Next.
Good evening, everyone. I too want to thank the League for hosting this webinar. I've worked for the Washington County Sheriff's Office since 1993, and certainly honored to be the 30th sheriff in Washington County's history. You know, I'm honored to be able to lead We have 288 outstanding and brave men and women of the Sheriff's Office who work hard every day to serve the citizens of Washington County. I think, you know, for your audience, I'm sure that they know that the Sheriff's Office provides many services throughout the county, all 33 cities and townships, but we provide primary law enforcement services to 15 cities, like the city of Newport. To be able to serve our community, I think that is what truly drew me into law enforcement. When I was a young kid, there was a local officer that would stop by our neighborhood, not only talk with us, but truly connect with us. And because of that officer's interactions and his positive image of law enforcement, out of the small group, 4 of us went into law enforcement so we can make a difference. And truly, that's what we are continuing to do. What makes me proud of my agency is our people. Every day, they do amazing stuff, whether it's patrolling your neighborhoods, our parks, waterways, courts, our records team, communications center, answering that 911 call, or the correctional officers in our jail. I'm truly proud and lucky to have such a great team. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sheriff. Now to our second question. What is the greatest challenge you face as a public safety leader, and what are you doing to address it, such as funding, safety equipment, recruitment, or retention, etc.? And you'll have 1.5 minutes to answer this question. And this one we'll start with Chief Jessica Danberg.
So that's kind of a loaded question to narrow down to one greatest challenge. I think it seems like as the time goes by, the challenges only increase. Obviously, the police and community relations, we think it's really good, and then something happens that is a huge setback. So that is the largest one. Coming close to it, honestly, is finding people that want to be in this profession. It's that has changed. The impacts of what has happened has definitely greatly impacted the interest in law enforcement. So that's on a decline, and I know it's not just within the state of Minnesota. It's nationwide. So it's that, because all of our agencies are impacted by that. Who are we going to hire to replace the people who are retiring? From there, you know, everything's becoming more expensive. Training's more expensive. And equipment is more expensive. Everything has to have a rotation because things can last for only so long. And then it's that funding source, especially for smaller agencies, because we don't have the businesses and the higher income taxes that come in for the local city. And that's where a lot of our monies comes from, to be able to pay for the police officers and then also fund them for training and for equipment.
Thank you so much. Next up, Director Jason Poso.
Yeah, so we definitely continue that theme in terms of recruitment. I mean, this isn't a regional issue. I mean, this is really a nationwide issue. We're just, you know, there's historically low recruitment numbers, and it's really causing us to look younger related to identifying great candidates. It really, you know, involving the expansion of our pathway programs and developing new ones, and really getting out in the community and educating folks, in particular our youth, on what the job actually is, the impact that you can have, and a positive impact that you can have on the community. So, you know, there are some of the things that we're looking at in terms of, we've formed recruitment teams. We've expanded our internship program to provide more opportunities in different areas for youth, put forth youth academies. We've expanded our community service officer program. This is generally the people you see driving around with the light blue shirts on, that have kind of the non-emergency response role for a variety of calls. And then our reserve program as well, which is our volunteer opportunity for folks to kind of get into the law enforcement world by working with a partner and responding to calls for service, and then where I started is the Explorer program, and started off as a youth at 15 years old as an exploration into this line of work. And so we really have a robust program there as well.
Thank you so much. And Sheriff Starry?
I think, like others, and we could speak on a lot, whether it's violent crime, assault on our police officers, opioid epidemic, human trafficking, mental health challenges for those that we serve, as well as for my team as well. I will continue our trend here. One of the biggest challenges that we are continuing to face in Minnesota and the country is recruiting for those open spots. As of this morning, on the Peace Officer Standards and Training website, there were 277 agencies listed as looking for sworn police officers in the state of Minnesota. Many of these agencies are looking for many qualified candidates. It's concerning. There's only 413 law enforcement agencies in the state of Minnesota. Let me repeat that. 277 agencies as of this morning looking for sworn, licensed professional personnel out of 413 agencies. That means 67% of our law enforcement agencies are looking for those qualified candidates. One of the things we can stop doing is stop having the negative rhetoric. It's really having a real tangible effect on those that may be interested in pursuing law enforcement. Thanks.
Thank you, Sheriff. And Chief Kerner?
But I feel like I'm just going to say ditto to everything here. But yeah, I think Jessica nailed it too when she started that. It's a huge question. And Cottage Grove, I've been very fortunate that I have a supportive leadership team, our community. So as far as safety equipment, things like that, we've been pretty good at getting those things, our commitment to training. But really what the other chiefs and directors said was, just that recruitment is a challenge. We're doing pretty good with retaining people. Once we get them in the door, it's just getting them in the door. So like others, we're all trying different strategies. It starts with pay and benefits, but that's just a small part of it. We want to just build and maintain a culture of excellence in the department that brings people here. We have some recruiting teams now. We're doing different strategies, and we've had a lot of success in the last 30 years. 50% of our police officers started here as a community service officer. So we do a really good job of recruiting from outside and then starting them, getting them through their training. But it's going to continue. And I think the sheriff nailed it is we need the public support. We need the media's narrative to change. We want the youth, and not necessarily just all youth, but anyone that wants a career change, to know this is a noble profession and want to do this. And we're struggling this as a public safety director. I see it in our police programs. I see it in our fire, our paramedic. It is a challenge, but I think we need to change that narrative. And I think we are doing that. I've seen some significant improvements in the recent future.
Thank you so much. Before the next question, I just want to say thank you as a longtime Washington County resident and a longtime Woodbury resident. Thank you all for your service, all of you. So thank you so much. Now, Vivian, for the next question.
I'm going to shift gears a little bit here and talk about some programs. So the 21st Century Task Force was commissioned by President Obama in 2014, and it was in response to a number of serious incidents between law enforcement and the communities they serve. The task force final report offered community policing themes and recommendations for officers, local government, and the community. They included 1, change the culture of policing from warrior to guardian, embrace community policing, ensure fair and impartial policing, build community capital, pay attention to officer wellness and safety, and use technology to improve policing practices. Has your department implemented any of these recommendations in the last 10 years? If so, were the changes successful or not? And can you share any changes in measurable outcomes? And we're going to start with Director Jason Posel, please.
Yeah, thank you. It's in a minute and a half. There's a lot to talk, so I'm going to talk about here. So I'm going to try to talk fast. But yeah, we've implemented a lot. There's been a lot of change over the last 10 years in the industry. And, I think of a couple of them specifically as our community support team. This is our partnership with the Washington County Social Services, having an embedded social worker. I'm really looking at going upstream to deal with issues that impact the community. The employment of a crime analyst. We have a dedicated team, our community support teams, as I mentioned, that not only includes a social worker, but a full-time detective. We have a therapy dog as well. That's part of that. A crime analyst, really letting data drive our work. So, it's a big area of focus for us. And, it's not tickets and arrests aren't the measurables. It's really those opportunities to let data drive our focus areas and to address those situations that impact the community, and really kind of gearing all of our programs around that concept. And the last one I would hit on, and this is a really big one for all of us on this panel, is officer wellness. And, we've employed many programs. A couple I would highlight is the Checkup from the Neck Up program, a required annual mental health check that all of our officers partake in, with optional additional visits along with opportunities for their family to participate. We have peer support teams, really changing the culture around it's okay to not be okay, and to it really starts with getting rid of some of the stigma that surrounds asking for help. And really, I think as leaders, that's something that we really model and work to model and change that culture, so folks can ask for help, and it's become acceptable within our profession.
Well, thank you very much. Let's go to Sheriff Dan Starry.
I think Jason hit it. I think a minute and a half doesn't quite do it justice. I think for most of us on this call, these six pillars that were recommendations, I think the Sheriff's Office and many of our agencies have been doing many of these. I know since I started in 1993, it's engaging communities through and community policing and working with the community to establish standards, policies, procedures, etc., not in a silo, but all together. And I think it's worked very well. I too want to talk about officer wellness. In 2016, we had a recent retiree that committed suicide, followed by in 2018, one of my deputies also committed suicide. We knew that we had to do something. We had a county employee assistance program, and we had a clinician that people could go to, but it was off-site, etc. And it wasn't being utilized. We had to break that stigma. We made a peer support group for all divisions within our agency. We implemented Checkup from the Neck Up, like Jason described as well. Starting next month, we're going to have a clinician here on site 5 days a week for our officers, or for our deputies or our correctional officers. But we too have a certified therapy dog, Rookie, who does an amazing job with all of our team as well. I got a lot more to say, but that's my time.
Thank you. And thank you so much for paying attention to officer wellness. I think that's an important piece. I am going to move on to Chief Pete Kerner, please.
All right, thank you. When we talk about the study when it came back, Minnesota's been ahead of the game. Most of these things that were listed, and we talk about in the last 10 years, we were already doing them. And when I say we, all the agencies in Washington County, we've been ahead of that. But we've always wanted to improve. One of them was, just the culture change. And that comes from the leadership, from the top down, but it's also just how we do our training programs. When we talk about community policing, it's kind of done a full circle, because, 92, 93, when I started, I was hired under the President Bill Clinton as a Clinton cop to do community-oriented policing. So this is really nothing new to us in law enforcement, especially here in Minnesota. But we've worked really hard on our community capital. We've been very transparent with our community. We have their buy-in, we have their support, and that's not by accident. We work really hard to get the community support. And as the others brought up, just that wellness and safety, we're trying it all. When I first started, you didn't show your feelings. Now we have that, peer support groups, the neck up checks. Law enforcement has come a long way, and but I can't really offer more than what the others would. I mean, I think you should be proud to be a resident of Washington County because we're doing all of this stuff.
Great. Thank you so much. Jessica Danberg, Chief Jessica Danberg, would you share some thoughts with us?
So like the other agencies, we also do checkup from the neck up, where they have the mandatory check-in yearly, and then they are allowed to attend by themselves or with a family if they so desire, individual therapy sessions, and all of that is anonymous. So if there's any sessions that they do want to go to, I get a bill. I don't know who went. It just says that it's a therapy session bill. And they're also on call for any critical incidences for debriefings if they need to be reached out to, just because unfortunately we know we've had a lot of those. That incident that occurred in Burnsville, or may have happened in Burnsville in a different county, but we work close together, and there's officers that went to school with these officers or had trainings with the officers, so it really does impact everybody. Another thing that we have, we allow them to work out up to an hour on duty, so it's not just mental health, it's also physical health. So they can spend that. We have some items that we share with the fire department that are on site, so they don't need to leave site. So a treadmill, elliptical, some free weights and everything if they choose to do so. And then another thing that we allow is if there's officers that have like an animal, a pet, specifically a dog that's behaved well enough to bring in, they are allowed to bring the dog and have the dog in the patrol room with them when they're working. It just can't go to calls for them. So they can have that. When it comes to community and police relations, it's a little bit more difficult with us because we don't have a middle school, high school where you typically have those school resource officers, where a lot of that outreach is done at the younger age. But we do have 2 elementary schools, and our day shift officers, we have one specifically that really goes out and makes a point to reach out and have lunches with the children and read books to them. And so that's kind of our community buy-in, along with little things throughout the year, events where the public is invited.
Thank you. That's very interesting that you go to see students in the elementary schools, because I don't know that you can start early enough building that sense of civic duty and civic pride. So thank you very much for your comments. I'd like to move on, and this is in reference to a National Police Association online publication, and I'm speaking specifically about an article titled Precision Policing, the Next Law Enforcement Era. And the article was written by Chief Joel Schultz, and he's EDD, highly educated, and has a focus on police work. And he states that technology makes evidence-based crime fighting more precise. Can you tell us how has new innovation and emerging technology changed your approach to community policing? What effect it has had on community engagement, and how can this technology be useful in fostering community engagement? And I am going to start with Sheriff Dan Starry. Please.
Well, thank you. Hopefully, by all of us, we can hit all those questions. Just I know I won't hit it, but I don't feel that old. But certainly, since I started in 1993, we didn't have squad cars or squad computers in our squad cars. We didn't have body-worn cameras. We didn't have in-car cameras, etc. Technology is ever changing. Technology should be for the betterment of all. We look at many different factors that can have an effect on our strategies, in ways we can intervene. We have to try to suppress that crime, but also to try to intervene before crime even begins by utilizing that technology. One thing that still does not go away, you still need personnel to look at and review the data. And so we're getting correct data and that we can utilize that. We have 2 crime analysts that work to help solve crimes, but also help to reduce the chance of being a victim. We also have ways to that the community can assist law enforcement because they want to be involved and they want to know how. And I say, be present, call, talk to us, talk to our officers, our deputies. Most of these crimes are crimes of opportunity, and we do utilize technology, but we want to make sure that they know that they're 24/7 by 365 for them.
Great. Thank you very much. I'd like to move on to Chief Pete Kerner.
All right. Yeah, to kind of echo what the sheriff said, and he missed one of the biggest ones there with the technology, and that was the new crime mapping that's coming out. And we're super excited that the sheriff's officer is going to be offering that to everyone. So I think that crime mapping component is going to be huge for the public to see. It's going to foster more awareness and transparency, and it will make up kind of in that area where we just can't get the information out sometimes fast enough or answer every question the public can go. So that's really exciting. And like the sheriff said, when we started, we didn't have squad cameras. We didn't have body worn cameras. So those have all been, nice additions, but now we're utilizing a lot more technology with cameras, whether it's our camera trailers, license plate readers. The community has, the Ring doorbells. So we're utilizing all of that. And I think out of those 4, the precision policing, my favorite was number 2, the community engagement. Cottage Grove, we've put a significant investment in that. We have a full-time community engagement officer that can kind of coordinate all the different events, because I'm not kidding, there's a lot, whether it's things as simple as like Chief Danberg said, reading at the school, scout tours, Girl Scout tour. We're doing all of those things, and so that position, it's just really valuable. But maybe the other 2 can hit on some of the other evidence-based, or but this question, I think we could talk for the technology for hours on it. So
I think that any of the questions that have been put forward, you guys, if you had an opportunity to go in depth, you'd really be telling us a lot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we just have a short period of time to get to everyone. Chief Jessica Danberg.
So with those 4 tenants, I feel that article was probably geared a little bit more towards larger agencies that, they mentioned ShotSpotter. None of our agencies, knock on wood, are really necessarily in the need for something such as ShotSpotter. That is the Minneapolis, the St. Paul. Our biggest thing, like Chief Kerner mentioned, is that community engagement, especially with a smaller city. We don't have to necessarily rely on the statistics and running statistics, because being a small agency with a population of, just shy over 5,000, we know the calls that we've all gone to. And so a lot of it is just word of mouth. It's just between shift exchange, hey, this happened, and really sitting together and talking about the calls that we've been on. We get to learn more about any people in our community that are having mental health issues or children that are having mental health issues. So we're just more aware of that. And I think that's one huge benefit of the small community, is that firsthand knowledge, and it's easier to pass on. And I sit down with them and talk with that. And that's, again, benefit of a smaller community, that I know I'm able to have that time with each of my officers.
Great. Thank you so much. Director Jason Posel.
Yeah, community engagement is such a huge part of what we all do within our agencies. And Woodbury really look at how we can have intersecting interest areas with that community members and community groups have, intersecting with programs and with individual interests that our officers have. So whether that be our canine program or our bike patrol program, we kind of have the philosophy that if you're involved in programming, if you're involved in as a police officer in any capacity, but specifically with programs, it means to be involved in community engagement as well. So as it relates to technology, we have 17 stationary automatic license plate readers throughout Woodbury, and our system is connected with several other cities that have the same technology. So last week we had a shooting at our Costco parking lot, and just through the use of this technology, we're able to track down the driver and the vehicle and make an arrest. And 5 years ago, I don't know that we would have been able to provide any closure to that incident, given the information we had at the time. With any technology, transparency is key. And we have a multicultural advisory committee that we operate in Woodbury, made up of volunteer community members. And, with this rollout of this specific technology, we brought it to the group, looked at ways to communicate it out to the community, work with them on producing videos and explaining why we use them, and more importantly, what they do and what they don't do. So that's just the transparency piece that with any technology is really important, and that ties back into community engagement.
Great, thank you very much. Jody?
Thanks, Vivian. And today, along the same lines about technology, today's police officers are faced with cyber crime, cyber terrorism, mass shootings, and human trafficking. As crime has evolved, so have the methods for identifying and preventing it. What technologies are you using to keep your community informed and safe from evolving crime? How are technologies like computer mapping and modeling, and as Chief Curtin mentioned, the shot spotter gunfire locating services helping you track and reduce crime? And does your community generally support their use? Do you think that their use may cause additional challenges for officers due to decreased trust in some communities? And if so, how do you maintain or increase trust between your community and your officers? And we'll begin that question with Chief Kerner.
Well, yeah, I think how we utilize it, like you said, I mean, the crime mapping is out there. We have criminal analysts, the cameras, license plate readers, all of those things. But the community support we have, I don't have a lot of these concerns. We have challenges, but the community is very supportive. They want us to be proactive. They know we're going to be responsible and using any of these kind of technologies. And I think we've been transparent, and we've also allowed our community members to have a voice too. So I think that has really helped us. I think as some of the others mentioned, it's having the right employees out there too. So technologies can help, but you really need the right people as well.
Thank you so much. And next, Chief Jessica Danberg.
I'll definitely piggyback on what Chief Kerner said regarding the right employees. I mean, that hiring process is really, really very important, from the application to, yep, here's your badge. They go through multiple interviews with multiple people. They go through physical and psychological testing. But even before they get to wearing that badge, they go through a background check. And we really do our best to try to weed out the people that are, that have the red flags, that have shown any type of history of bias towards others, or, depending of any protected race or religion or sexuality or anything like that. And that's kind of the benefit of Facebook, Snapchat, and TikTok, because people like to talk about themselves and like to talk about their views. So when we look into that, and if we see those things that are anti-groups like that, we're like, nope, you're out. So that's kind of where technology it's not exactly focused on this in the way of crime, but more along the, making sure we get those right officers. But yeah, the crime mapping thing will be huge for the public to see in the way of transparency. And the body worn cameras is huge for transparency as well. I think with the communities that we have that community engagement, and they're all small enough communities where we thankfully don't need a lot of the, here's the shots going off, go get it. It's more, occasional, for lack of better terms.
Thank you so much. Director Jason Pozo.
Yeah, so as it relates to technology, some of them have been hit on already, but the body worn cameras and squad cameras, and if somebody does have a question about an interaction, we invite them to come to the public safety building and review that footage and have a conversation with them, and use that as an opportunity to talk about an incident more in depth than maybe was able to on scene. Technology in terms of online complaint and compliment process. So we have, if you go on our website, you can file a complaint if you have one, if you've got some questions, if you want to give a compliment to one of our staff, you're able to do that online as well. And, looking at our some of the technology and our ability to post our department policies in a public forum so people can come and look at what some of our policies are, getting easy access to reports by online request. And, from a technology standpoint, not only the crime mapping, which is going to be going live here this week, but really utilizing our social media to be more transparent in terms of activities that are going on, incidents that are happening in the county, specifically in our city. And it's an opportunity for us to put out information to help inform people about what's happening in their community. And social media is a little bit of a double-edged sword. We want all the information the second there's an incident, and we can't always provide everything at that exact moment, but we do our best to put out as much information as we're possible while being respectful to all involved.
Thank you so much. And Sheriff Starry.
A lot of technology, like I said before. Depending on which area we want to go down. As mentioned by everyone today, we are rolling out our crime mapping system for all of our agencies and the residents. Crime mapping is a tool to help identify patterns, areas of concern, and other information helpful to not only law enforcement, but also to our residents as well. Other technology includes like squad mapping. How do we find our calls, especially at night, etc., like that, as we go. So this will, all of it will assist with transparency, as we're talking about, and allow our citizens to know what is going on. Maybe not in real time that we all want to know, but certainly should be the next day after they come in. And so, but there's other technology out there, Ring camera footage, our camera trailer as well, or other systems used by businesses or homeowners. It's important to not only the community, but law enforcement, so we can collaborate together to share maybe that video that will help solve that case of a missing person, or find those who are responsible for committing a crime in their neighborhood. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Next question. Today's officers and leaders must be trained to address a broad variety of challenges, from international and domestic tourism to evolving technologies, rising immigration, changing laws, new cultural mores, and growing mental health crisis. In light of the stress and the pressure from the work environment, what is being done to address the health and wellness of officers as incidents of PTSD, burnout, and other mental health and physical conditions rise among officers? How is it being addressed? And we'll begin that question with Chief Jessica Danberg.
I think we hit upon this in one of the previous questions really well with the checkup from the neck up programs that we all have utilized, the peer support groups, and then also the physical health, because with physical health, you have mental health as well, because they're good for each other. Having the smaller agency, we hope do our best to have the all our officers kind of get along as best they can versus kind of forming cliques, which can happen with much larger agencies. And that creates for more openness. I try to create an open door as much as possible too, by speaking with the officers, you know, how everything's going, not just talking about calls for service and everything, and then also reminding them, you know, if you know this call was difficult for you, there is literally no shame in that, and you know, remember that you do have the people that we utilize for the mental wellness program. I think that's the biggest thing, is to talk about mental health. Like it's if you're on a medication for anxiety or depression, that is literally no different than being on a medication for high cholesterol or high blood pressure. There is no shame in it. You know, there's huge statistics about the number of people that do need medication to help them with their mental health. There's just no shame in that. And by being impacted by a lot of these things, you're just showing that you're human. That's just making sure that you handle that in a healthy way.
And you said also.
Yeah, there's really three parts to this. There's, you know, the mental health, the physical health, and the spiritual health. And, you know, I love the quote, you know, culture eats policy for breakfast. And, you know, really creating a culture around it's okay to not be okay. We talked about some of the programs that are involved in that, in terms of the checkup from the neck up to peer support. So a lot of these programs really, you know, as a command staff, you know, creating that culture and that we're all involved in these different programs, and we're here to support each other. In terms of physical health, you know, paid time for working out, providing workout facilities in the department, having more job specific physicals, not just kind of the run of the mill testing, but some more kind of specific testing for first responders is something that we're going to be rolling out here this year that we're really proud of. We've got a chaplaincy program as well. We have a chaplain who visits our department regularly. We have a workstation set up for them that they're able to come in and do some of their work and have some more of those casual interactions. And you know, I also think about our public safety building that we're currently in the process of designing right now, and really looking at how we focus not only on decontamination areas for, you know, substances that get on our uniform and on our equipment, but also focusing on things that affect our officers' mental health and their well-being, related to identifying areas to have debriefs, quiet rooms to help people kind of process the toll that these calls can have. So kind of a holistic approach to wellness.
Much. All right. Sheriff Starry.
Yeah, we certainly know and see every day the demands of the job. They can be certainly overwhelming, and certainly we are committed to assist our team, not only our team, those that are within Washington County or others agencies that may need help. As I mentioned before, we started our county occupational resources for employees. And it's really, truly a team within that is made by peers for our team members, for their families, because we all know we can't do this alone. We need someone to go home to, and we need to talk to. And we bring a lot of this stuff home, and we got to make sure that our home life is good as well. So taking care of those of our families, also taking care of our retirees. Just because you retire doesn't mean that you're done with law enforcement, or you're done with the post-traumatic stress, or you can't unsee the things that you've seen. So having this program in place and having it ran by our peer support team, overseen by a clinician, really is a true benefit for our agency. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And Chief Peter Kerner.
All right. Like everyone else has said, we have the peer support groups, we have the wellness, health check-ins, all of those things. But what I've really learned too is, as part of our leadership team, is the last few years, we always talked about a work-life balance, but did we really push for that? So that's really been one of our strategic initiatives. It's not just a buzz phrase around here as much. We put a lot of effort into the patrol officer schedule, that when we say they need a work-life balance, well, then we need a schedule where they can take some time off. For a while when we weren't fully staffed, that stress starts to get up. So, we make sure we have the right coverage so people can take their time off. I love what Director Polzel had brought up with the physicals that we do, where it's more job related, where it's lead testing, hearing testing, we get EKGs, they do some cancer screening and stuff. So it's I think, we kind of walk the walk now, when we say we're going to do this, and it's hard for me. I've had that, workaholic and it's like, but that's not right. So to kind of change that culture. So I think we are getting better at that. When you look at these different benefit packets, 30 years ago, they didn't even talk about paternal leave. Now we have officers that are able to take advantage of that. So we're catching up to the private sector and a lot of the benefits they offer. And it's been good. But again, work-life balance, we can keep saying it, but we really have to push for it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And back to Vivian for the next couple of questions.
Okay, I am going to start out with one of our audience questions. Since you talk so much about what you're doing to support your officers, this question came in from Karen Bowman, and she asks, what can those of us in the public do to support and help you? And we're not timing this one, but whoever would like to speak on that, please do so. And or we can go around in a circle again, but volunteers?
I'll start. Why not?
Thank you.
Keep having the great discussions that you have with us. I mean, that's first and foremost. Say hi to us when we're out and about, and have those discussions as you see us go through your neighborhood. This occurs every day, and it's really, really important, whether it's in Woodbury, Cottage Grove, St. Paul Park, Newport, Afton, Denmark Township. It doesn't matter. Our first responder teams are out there to assist our citizens. Stop us, say hi. We, as first responders, we also need to tell our story and both the honorable work that's being done every day. I will say that our partnerships are amazing within Washington County for all of our first responders. We just had a house fire that you may have heard in the news down in St. Paul Park. And there was a St. Paul Park officer along with my sheriff's sergeant, who is assigned to the city of Newport. But together they arrived, they breached that door, they utilized a device to knock down that fire, loud enough time for the fire department to get there and knock that fire down and completely extinguish it. It's those things that we need to continue to tell our story, but also to make sure that we have those discussions with our citizens that are out there, because there's a lot of great work that is being done, and it's I'm very proud of our profession here within Washington County. Our partnership with all of our first responders is really, really amazing. And so with that, I would just say hi, thank us. I don't need anything. Our people don't need anything. They want to have that conversation.
Great, thank you. Would anyone else like to comment?
I am going to comment on, so while we love technology and like we utilize Facebook as a way to communicate, this is something that's going to be happening or is happening, or beware for this, or, public service announcement for this. I ask the public to be careful of what they're reading and spreading, especially on Facebook, because we will have incidences where we will have a citizen or a business owner who is disgruntled because something happened not to their liking, and they'll get on Facebook and they will say their side of the story, and then everybody jumps on that bandwagon, hates on the department, hates on all the officers, and doesn't have the other side of the story. But we, as a profession, we remain silent and we stay out of that, because if we get into it, it is unprofessional with that banter. So things usually figure themselves out in the long run. But I think the big thing is, don't just jump on that bandwagon right away and be that keyboard warrior. It's very easy to not support somebody in black and white. And I think there's more people that will do that versus show support, because I think there's this view that the majority dislike law enforcement, which in actuality, it's just the majority are a little bit quieter. So it sounds the reverse of what it actually is. So that would be a huge thing. Careful for Facebook neighbors.
Thank you. That's good advice. Anyone else want to speak? If not, I'll move on to the next question. And this question is for Director Jason Posel. What type of training is being given to officers and the community to recognize and mitigate explicit and implicit bias?
Yeah, this is a great question. I think about it, it's akin to our consumption of media, right? I mean, we need to be challenging what we're reading and seeing, looking for different perspectives, and all of us need to be open to that process. It would really address this head on. We have annual trainings specifically on this topic, and really weave it throughout our different trainings that we offer. And I think first and foremost, we need to acknowledge that we all have them. I mean, our human brains naturally want to categorize things and look for connections. And, we need to be continually challenging these connections. And we do this through scenario-based training, through simulator training, formal trainings that encourage that active participation. We weave it through our field training officer program, and, continually challenge, what we're just our general consumption of media as well. As a department, we talk openly about different perspectives that are out in the community. We're an atypical organization, all of us are, and we really want to be respectful to everyone on our mission is in Woodbury is we serve all people with compassion and courage, and we really weave the all people, regardless if you support us or whether you don't think we're needed, we're here to serve you.
Great, thank you so much. Sheriff Starry?
I think it starts from day one when you get into college and education, and it probably starts before that, certainly at home, making sure that we're raising our children the way they should be raised. There are many trainings that are approved through PULSE, which is the Minnesota's standards and training board. These can include like crimes motivated by bias, which aids first responders in responding to investigations and reporting bias motivated crimes. There's implicit bias classes to include what a bias is, consequences of a bias, perceived bias, how cognitive biases affect our own actions. We also take classes on equal protection clause and discrimination. We have others that, to be all inclusive, serving those with autism disorder, best practices in mental health, crisis response, procedural justice, police legitimacy, and that's just to name a few. But all of our agencies go through many courses that are ran through our PULSE board and certified through them.
Great. That's a wonderful answer to that question. Next, Chief Pete Corner, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I think they covered all the trainings. I mean, obviously there's mandated trainings that we have to do the 4 hours for every license, but really, I think this is a good opportunity for us to reach back out to the public and ask for ideas too. I've picked up ideas from friends that work at Target, and they said, "Hey, we had this speaker come in." So we're always looking for people. We like to host right at the training center next door. We'll do some just diversity and cultural awareness training. So we're looking for ideas too. And really, with this, it shouldn't take us going to a class or training. It's the culture of the department. You know, it can't be tolerated. And it's one thing for us as leaders to go back there. Obviously, I don't tolerate it. But I need those newer officers to have that same belief. And, you know, so I think it's just having open conversations. And again, you know, if we can reach out to people and say, what have you had in your job? Because this isn't just a police challenge or public safety. It's everywhere. The school district constantly provides me with some good training opportunities. They're like, hey, we're at a conference, we had this person. So I think that's just more of a offer out there to the public. If anyone has ideas, we listen, and we'd love to try different people. So
Great, thank you. And then we'll move on to Chief Danberg.
It's probably going to mirror a lot of what they said, especially when it comes to the post-bird standards and trainings, and trying to not just do the minimum, you know, try to incorporate it with other trainings and on a daily basis, and just your own behavior. You know, if you hear a quote unquote joke and it's a little bit like borderline, communicate that rather than just let it go. Another thing is the Youth Service Bureau that I'm secretary for, we had diversity, equity, and inclusion training that was the board members had an opportunity to attend. So I made sure I attended that, and I brought back what I learned to my officers. So it's just keeping an eye out on those trainings, and then yes, definitely just your daily practice, you know, and keeping each other in check. I think a lot of people are so quick to be like, well, I'm not racist. Well, I think we all inherently have some racism, and it's just easy to say you're not racist, but you have to recognize that how we were raised and what we were, you know, grown around, and it is there, and we need to address it. Otherwise, it just won't go away. I don't know other way to say it. You know, stay educated, read books, talk to people that are not within your quote unquote circle.
Yeah, that was really good advice from all of you. So thank you very much. I'll move to the next question. And it's similar to our audience question. What we would like to know is, what can our league do to support public safety officers and leaders? And oh, you need to know who's starting. That would be Sheriff Starry.
I think for me and my team out there, please continue to talk about what the community needs are, and the transparency for law enforcement, making sure that that you hold these type of sessions, because these type of sessions are very important. And as you can see, the breadth of the questions that you have throughout, there's a lot of information that we're not covering one bit, and we could do this for quite a while. So what I would say is continue to tell our story, continue to tell the story of our communities, and so we can partner together. And I think this venue certainly does.
Thank you very much. Chief Corner. And I keep getting your name wrong, and I have my person on the other end sending me notes saying it's Kerner. It's Chief Pete Kerner. So please.
not a problem. I've been called a lot worse than that. So people struggle with that sometimes. But I think what the sheriff said is dead on. I think just people learning more about us, and whether it's this venue, we always talk about when we have our Citizens Academy, people come, and we've had people come that critics, our biggest critics, and they go through the academy, and they still might not agree with everything we do or, or all of our policies, but we have a better understanding. So I think just come out, walk in our shoes a little bit, and then sometimes we need to walk in that person's shoes too. So I've had a lot of people that had a bad encounter with an officer at one point, or and we're able to have a good conversation. So I think that's important. But just the public knowing more, whether it's watching our council meetings, learning about our budgets, learning about where your tax dollars go. I think that's all really important. So, but I think community engagement events such as this, where we have an opportunity to share it and listen, are really powerful too. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Chief Danberg, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything huge to add. It's just try to, not pass judgment and be super critical. If you have a question about something, ask. If you got a ticket, we're sorry, but we enforce those laws too, even if they're annoying. It's like you can't pick and choose. We're here to try to do what we can and be as fair as possible.
That's interesting, because that's exactly how I met Director Posel, was by asking a question on a long email. And he said, why don't we sit down and talk? So Director Posel, would you like to share something about that, around that question? What we as a league can do to support public safety officers and leaders?
Yeah, I mean, this session is a big part of it. I mean, seeking out understanding, looking for opportunities to work together. I would say lending your perspective and your voice through various commissions and committees, both inside of public safety and just with city government in general. Signing up for citizens academies, attending open house, looking for opportunities to connect with officers when you see them out and about. And, I think it's really on all of us to just be curious, right? The headlines are easy to digest, but it's upon all of us to dig deeper and ask questions and challenge perspectives. And, again, that's not just for the league, that's for all of us just as members of this society. But, this session is great, and it's an important step in the direction to connecting with each other and looking at how we can work together.
Thank you. I have one audience question I'd like to sneak in before your summary. And the question is anonymous attendee, but earlier in the program, we discussed the problem with negative image and criticism of the profession. What are they doing to address those criticism in our communities? So anyone can weigh in on this? Do you have a response or a thought on it?
I can.
I
can run with it at first, but I think the question, the way it's being worded is, what do we do different for accepting that criticism? And I think as a profession, we need to own it. When I hear examples of bad police work or bad conduct, I don't defend those officers. I'm the first to say they don't belong in our profession. So, I've had very candid conversations. Like you said, you had sent an email to Director Posel. I get emails all the time. I don't like responding back to emails. I want to have that conversation. So I invite people. I've met with some of my biggest critics down at Caribou or at Starbucks over a cup of coffee, and we say a lot of things that some of it stings, some of it hurts. But again, I think we have to own it when we make a mistake. And I think all of our departments in Washington County, again, we share it on social media. We give explanations, and if I don't give a good explanation, let me know. We can do, but we can constantly do better with how we communicate with the community. So hopefully I answered that okay, but I think we do need to own it and have those conversations no matter how tough they are. So thank you.
Director Posel, did you have something?
Yeah, I would say, really having a growth mindset, in terms of always looking for opportunities to get better as an agency and that's, a culture that we really try to instill. If somebody, from a community engagement standpoint, feedback that people have for us, it really looking at those as opportunities. I always like to say, we're working we want to be a great agency, but we'll never get there because you should never attain it. It's always something you strive for. And really, we don't get there based on our own ideas and our own perspectives. Like, we only get there and continue to get there towards the input that we get from community members and through feedback that we get through connections and partnerships through our various programs, looking at how we can improve as an agency. So we really, again, take a growth mindset in terms of how do we get better together.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? If not, I'll turn it back to Jody.
Thanks, Vivian. All great answers. I really enjoyed this. So thank you, everyone. So finally, as our time draws to a close, we ask you to share one thing you would like the audience to take away from this webinar and your vision for the future of policing in America. And we'll have that question with Sheriff Starry.
Thank you. I just want to say that law enforcement is a noble career. I'm proud for being able to serve our residents for over 3 decades. I am proud of our brave men and women who are passionate and committed to serve the right way for our communities. I know the next generation of law enforcement leaders are out there. They just need all of our support. Now more than ever, it's time to recognize the invaluable contributions of law enforcement professionals to society. Though in the same breath and looking to the future, recognition alone is not enough. We must provide continued support, resources, and mentorship to ensure that the next generation is well equipped to handle the responsibilities and pressures that come with this job. My vision for our first responders has and will be to partner with our community members to make Washington County the best place to live, work, and play both today and tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Chief Carter?
All right. I swear to you, I had this written down here, and I think the sheriff read that. He must have snuck a peek at my notes, but I echo that 100%. Policing is a noble profession, and the men and women that represent Cottage Grove Public Safety and all of our first responders in Washington County are top notch. You have the best. I just want to take a moment to and thank you guys for these were really thought-provoking questions. And I missed the whole timing part. So each of these, I had like tons of bullet points, and I was going to talk like 10 minutes on each of these. So you really kept us to task on these. These were really good questions, well thought out. So I think, as the sheriff said, just in closing, that we're going to continue to get better here. We're going to continue to hire the best and represent and keep Cottage Grove and all of Washington County safe. So, but I do appreciate the opportunity to share some of these things, and we look forward to any kind of feedback that people can provide. Again, I have thick skin, and if people, whatever they want to share, I'm listening. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Chief Danber?
I'm going to do this quick because apparently my battery has decided to be weird and I can't find my charger. So I'll mirror the thank you. Appreciate this. This is a huge thing to be able to share our years of history and what we'd like to see in the future for policing. Because yes, as Sheriff Starry said, it is a noble profession. I hope everybody can remember that the officers that come in and put on that uniform also want to go home to their families. They take off that uniform. They are normal human beings. They have families, they have friends, and they deserve the respect that, if they're good officers, there are very good officers out there, and we have a number of them in Washington County. We're lucky for that. So, my vision, my hope would be that people understand that the vast majority of officers truly get into this career to help others, to shed a positive light. And it would be that we someday can gain that trust back from the communities that we serve, and have it return to be the respectable profession.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And Director Poso.
Yeah, it's a bit cliche, but that we're all in this together. We really are. Our agencies and the community, we are in this together. As mentioned before, our mission is that we serve all people with compassion and courage. For us, for our agencies, we're in the service industry. I've worked for Woodbury since 1996. I've yet to produce a product. We provide a service, and we're always looking for ways to better serve you. But we also need your voice and your perspective to do that better. My vision of the future of policing is optimistic because of the people who are entering the field. The overall quantity of candidates isn't where we want it to be, but the overall quality of the candidates really is. And that's what gives me optimism for the future. I think about the person who, despite all that's happened over the last 5 years, raises their hands and steps forward to serve in this capacity. I mean, it really is inspiring. And that's why I'm optimistic for the future of our careers, of this profession.
Well, thank you so much. And thank all 4 of you for being with us and taking time to do this. Really, really appreciate it. Now, toss it back to Vivian for closing remarks.
I also want to thank you for accepting our invitation to be here tonight. You've given us a good insight of what is going on in our community, and it was something that was requested by our group after we talked to Director Posel. So on behalf of Woodbury Cottage Grove Area League of Women Voters, I would like to thank our panel members for their leadership and service. It's only through exchanges like this that we learn about topics such as policing in our communities. We thank our panel for joining us tonight and providing insight on how they incorporate art, craft, and science into community policing. Now I'd like to turn the program over to our president, Andrea Hobley, for closing comments. Thank you.
Thank you again to all of you. That was really excellent to hear from everybody. So thanks again to Washington County Sheriff Dan Starry, our Public Safety Director Jason Posel from Woodbury, and Police Chief Jessica Danberg from St. Paul Park, and Public Safety Director Pete Kerner from Cottage Grove. As I said at the beginning, I mean, it's just wonderful to have all of you on together, and since we're all serving those areas, and so it's nice to be able to hear from all of you. And I also wanted to give thanks to Vivian Latimer Tannehill and Jody Ritaka for facilitating the discussion tonight. And thank you to our viewers for attending the program as well. That's also important that, we're here and people are listening. So if anyone attending wants to share this with others, we will be putting this on our League of Women Voters Woodbury Cottage Grove Area YouTube channel. So you can find that on our website, or you can just, if you go to YouTube and search LWV Woodbury Cottage Grove Area, it should come up as their first search option. Just a few quick announcements for upcoming programs before we say goodbye. On April 15th, which is also a Monday night at 7 o'clock on Zoom, similar time and format to this one, we're going to have an update on the Gold Line, and you can find information about that on our website or Facebook page. Our website is lwvwcg.org. And then for members, we want to make sure you save the date for our annual meeting, which is going to be Monday, May 20th at River Oaks. And we'll send out information about that soon. Thanks again to everybody for joining us this evening. Good night.